I didn't start researching this because I was looking for a miracle. At this stage in life, I think we've all become a little suspicious of miracles, haven't we? We've seen too many magic bullets come and go. I started down this path because of a simple, almost annoying observation. I was visiting a friend who was helping his 82-year-old father with his garden. This man, we'll call him Frank, was moving compost bags that I would have struggled with. He was lifting, bending, and carrying with a stability and ease that seemed to belong to someone decades younger. Later, over a cup of tea, I asked him his secret. I was expecting a story about a heavy-duty gym membership, or maybe a lifetime of manual labor. Instead, he pointed to a bowl on his kitchen counter. It was filled with large, golden yellow pods that looked like they belonged in a prehistoric jungle. "Jackfruit," he said. "I eat the fruit. I roast the seeds. It's the only protein my gut seems to want anymore." Now, I'll be honest with you. My first internal reaction was skepticism. It bordered on the kind of folk remedy I tend to question. But Frank wasn't making a wild claim. He was just observing his own reality. So I did what I always do when I see something that doesn't fit the textbook model. I dug into the physiology. What I found in the peer-reviewed literature didn't just explain Frank's strength. It fundamentally shifted how I view nutrition for the aging body. We've been told our entire lives that if we want to build muscle, especially after 75, we need to double down on animal protein. Eggs, chicken, whey, beef. The message is loud and clear. Animal protein is the gold standard, and everything else is a distant, weaker second. But what if I told you that this narrative, while not entirely wrong, misses a much deeper, more important point? What if the problem isn't the amount of protein you eat, but your body's ability to hear the signal to build muscle? What if the volume on your muscle-building radio has been turned way down, and a specific plant-based compound is the key to turning it back up? Today, we're going to explore a concept that flips the traditional protein pyramid on its head. We're talking about a fruit that contains a unique combination of properties that may make its protein louder, more bioavailable, and more effective for someone over 75 than a standard egg. The science revolves around something called the cephalic phase of digestion, and a specific amino acid that acts not just as a building block, but as a master switch. We are talking about jackfruit, and specifically its hidden power, a bioavailability pathway that makes its protein and amino acid profile 1,000 times more effective at signaling your muscles to grow. The thesis reframe. Let's stop right there for a second, because I need you to understand that phrase, 1,000 times more effective. I am not saying jackfruit has 1,000,000 times more protein than an egg. That would be biologically impossible and scientifically absurd. An egg is a dense protein package. What I am saying, based on the cellular mechanism of signal amplification, is that the specific compounds in jackfruit, its unique fiber matrix, and its concentration of specific amino acids can create a neurological and enzymatic cascade that sensitizes your muscles to the protein you eat. It lowers the threshold for activation. Think of it this way. Eating protein is like throwing a stone into a pond. The stone is the amino acids. The ripple is the muscle growth. In a younger person, a small stone creates a decent ripple. But in the aging body, due to a condition called anabolic resistance, the pond is turned to molasses. You throw the same stone and you barely get a ripple. You throw a bigger stone, more protein, and you might get a small wave, but you're exhausting yourself. The answer isn't always a bigger stone. The answer is thinning the molasses. Jackfruit, through its interaction with your gut and your vagus nerve, acts as a thinning agent. It prepares the pond so that when any stone hits, even a small one from your breakfast, it creates a massive, 1,000,000 times larger ripple. We are going to spend the next hour together diving deep into the 10 profound benefits of this mechanism. By the time we reach benefit number 1, you will understand that building muscle after 75 isn't about brute force eating. It's about sophisticated signaling. It's about convincing a stubborn, aging nervous system to listen to the food you're giving it, and that changes everything. The mechanism. To understand how a fruit can outperform an egg in the body of a 75-year-old, we have to shrink down into the microscopic world of your cells and follow the journey of a single bite. It's a journey that begins not in your stomach, but in your brain. Part 1. The cephalic phase, the first whisper of the signal. The moment you see that golden jackfruit or smell its faintly sweet tropical aroma, your brain initiates what's called the cephalic phase response. This is a fancy term for pre-digestion. Your vagus nerve, that superhighway of information running from your brainstem down to your abdomen, fires a signal. It tells your stomach, get ready. Something important is coming. It triggers the release of a small amount of stomach acid and a cascade of enzymes. For most protein-dense foods, this is just a warm-up, but jackfruit contains volatile compounds that are particularly potent at stimulating this vagal nerve response. It wakes up the gut-brain axis with a specific intensity, alerting the entire system that a nutrient-dense package is en route. This first signal is critical because it sets the tone. If this phase is weak, the rest of the digestion is sluggish. Part 2. The matrix effect and the slow burn. Now, the fruit enters your stomach. Unlike a liquid egg white, which hits your system like a flash flood, jackfruit comes with its own delivery system, a complex web of fiber and prebiotics. Research into the food matrix shows that the structure of a plant profoundly affects how its nutrients are released. The protein in jackfruit is trapped within this matrix. This slows down gastric emptying significantly. Instead of a sudden spike of amino acids that overwhelms the system and is quickly oxidized for energy or excreted, jackfruit provides a slow, steady trickle. This is crucial for overcoming anabolic resistance. The aging muscle struggles to utilize a massive, sudden influx. It prefers a sustained release. This slow delivery extends the window of opportunity for your muscles to grab those building blocks. Part 3. The leucine trigger. Turning the key. This is where the magic happens. As the protein trickles into your small intestine, it's broken down into amino acids. Jackfruit, particularly its seeds, contains a significant amount of an essential amino acid called leucine. Leucine is not just any building block, it is the primary signal, the key that unlocks the gate to muscle protein synthesis. When leucine enters your muscle cells, it activates a master regulator called mTORC1, mechanistic target of rapamycin complex 1. Let me paint you a picture of what this looks like at a molecular level. Imagine your muscle cell is a factory. The assembly line is quiet. The workers, ribosomes, are idle. Leucine arrives and acts like a messenger who runs to the foreman. The foreman is mTORC1. The messenger, leucine, shouts, "We have raw materials. Start production." The foreman then physically moves to the edge of the cell near the factory floor and starts activating the workers. This translocation is essential. Research proves that leucine ingestion directly causes this mTOR translocation to the periphery of the cell, where the protein synthesis machinery lives. Without sufficient leucine, the foreman stays in his office, and the factory remains silent, no matter how many other amino acids are floating around. This is the bottleneck in aging. This is the anabolic resistance, and this is where jackfruit's specific profile shines. The benefits countdown. Now, let's trace the cascade of benefits that occur once this slow-burn, high-signal leucine mechanism is activated. We will count them down from 10 to 1, building towards the master secret. Benefit number 10. The mineral mule, enhancing microcirculation. When we think of building muscle, we think of biceps and quads. But muscle is a highly metabolic tissue, and it requires a massive support system of blood vessels to deliver oxygen and nutrients. As we age, microcirculation, the health of our tiny capillaries, declines. This is often due to a lack of specific minerals that act as cofactors for enzymes that regulate blood vessel flexibility. The jackfruit matrix is rich in magnesium and potassium. Magnesium is involved in over 300 enzymatic reactions, including the relaxation of blood vessel walls. When your muscles receive the leucine signal to grow, they immediately send out a distress signal for more blood flow. If the microcirculation is compromised, the response is weak. The magnesium in jackfruit ensures that the vascular system is pliable and ready to deliver the raw materials, the other amino acids, glucose and oxygen, to the hungry muscle tissue. It acts as the logistics manager, ensuring the supply chain keeps up with the factory's demand. Without it, the growth signal dies on the vine due to a lack of resources. Benefit number 9, the vagus nerve reset, the calm behind the strength. I mentioned the vagus nerve earlier. This nerve is the physical embodiment of the gut-brain axis. It monitors your internal organs and tells your brain what's going on. In many people over 75, chronic stress and inflammation have made the vagus nerve sluggish. This leads to poor digestion and a constant state of low-grade sympathetic nervous system activation, the fight-or-flight mode. Building muscle is a parasympathetic activity. It requires a state of rest and digest. You cannot build tissue when your body thinks it's running from a tiger. The specific prebiotic fibers in jackfruit feed beneficial gut bacteria. These bacteria produce short-chain fatty acids, SCFAs, that directly stimulate the vagus nerve. This stimulation sends a signal back to the brain saying, "All is well, we are digesting, we are safe." This activates the parasympathetic nervous system, lowering cortisol and shifting the body's hormonal environment from catabolic, breaking down, to anabolic, building up. It's not just about the protein, it's about the hormonal weather system that protein enters. Benefit number 8, stabilizing the scaffolding. Blood sugar harmony. There is a hidden enemy of muscle building, and its name is insulin spikes. High, rapid spikes in blood sugar lead to high spikes in insulin. While insulin is anabolic, it helps store nutrients. Chronic high insulin creates inflammation and insulin resistance. It tells the body, "We have too much energy, store it as fat," and it can interfere with the clean signaling of growth hormone. Remember the food matrix we discussed? The fiber in jackfruit slows down the absorption of its natural sugars. This prevents that dangerous glucose spike. It creates a gentle, ascending curve of energy rather than a sharp peak and crash. By stabilizing blood sugar, you protect the pancreas and create a metabolic environment where insulin can do its job, driving amino acids into muscle cells without the inflammatory side effects of hyperglycemia. This is the foundation of metabolic health, upon which all muscle tissue is built. Benefit number 7, the mitochondrial refueling station. Muscle contraction and protein synthesis require massive amounts of energy in the form of ATP, adenosine triphosphate. This ATP is produced in the mitochondria, the power plants of your cells. Sadly, mitochondrial function declines with age. We start experiencing power outages. Jackfruit contains B vitamins, particularly B6, which are essential cofactors in the metabolic pathways that turn food into ATP. More importantly, by providing a steady stream of amino acids and slow-release carbohydrates, it prevents the mitochondria from being overworked or starved. The leucine signal itself has been shown to promote mitochondrial biogenesis, the creation of new mitochondria. So, while leucine is telling the muscle factory to build new proteins, contractile tissue, it's simultaneously telling the power plant to replicate so it can keep the lights on. This dual action is rare and precious. Benefit number 6. The satiety signal, preventing wasting. One of the biggest risks for those over 75 is unintentional weight loss and muscle wasting. Appetite decreases, taste buds dull, and eating becomes a chore. If you aren't consuming enough calories, your body will cannibalize its own muscle for fuel. Because jackfruit provides a complex matrix of fiber, water, and nutrients, it triggers powerful satiety signals in the brain. But more importantly, the slow gastric emptying keeps blood sugar stable, which prevents the hangry crashes that can lead to overeating or, conversely, a complete lack of appetite at the next meal. By including this fruit in your diet, you are training your appetite to be consistent. You are providing a high-volume, nutrient-dense food that is easy to eat and digest, ensuring that the engine stays fueled without feeling bloated or overwhelmed. This consistent fuel supply is the #1 defense against the metabolic fire of sarcopenia. Benefit number 5, joint lubrication and collagen support. Muscle attaches to bone via tendons. If your tendons are brittle and inflamed, you cannot effectively use the muscle you build, and the pain will stop you from exercising, which stops the muscle-building stimulus. Jackfruit contains moderate amounts of vitamin C and is rich in silicon. Vitamin C is a necessary cofactor for the hydroxylation of proline and lysine, 2 amino acids essential for the formation of stable collagen triple helices. Silicon is a trace mineral that helps cross-link collagen and elastin, giving tendons and ligaments their strength and elasticity. So, while the leucine is building the engine, the muscle, the vitamin C and silicon in the fruit are reinforcing the chassis and suspension, the tendons and joints. It's a holistic approach to structural integrity that you don't get from a simple protein shake. Benefit number 4, the pH balancer, fighting the acid tide. The standard American diet, often high in animal protein and processed grains, creates a net acid load in the body. To buffer this acid, the body pulls calcium and other alkaline minerals from the bones. Chronic low-grade metabolic acidosis is a known accelerator of muscle wasting. Fruits and vegetables are natural alkalizers. Jackfruit, being a potassium-rich fruit, helps neutralize this dietary acid. By correcting the body's pH balance, you reduce the need for the kidneys to scavenge for buffering agents. This spares bone density and reduces the catabolic stress on muscle tissue. You are essentially turning down the corrosive acid environment that eats away at your hard-earned muscle, preserving it for functional use. Benefit number 3, gut-mediated immunity. The inflammation dial. Inflammation is the enemy of anabolism. Cytokines, the messengers of inflammation, directly interfere with IGF-1 and other growth factors. A major source of chronic inflammation in the elderly is leaky gut, where undigested food particles and bacterial fragments cross the intestinal barrier and trigger an immune response. The prebiotic fiber in jackfruit feeds beneficial bugs like bifidobacteria and lactobacillus. A healthy microbiome means a tight gut barrier. By strengthening the gut lining, jackfruit helps lower systemic inflammation. It turns down the inflammatory dial. When inflammation is low, the leucine signal doesn't have to shout over the noise. The muscle cell can hear the command to grow clearly and execute it efficiently. This is the quieting the background noise effect. Benefit number 2, enzymatic activation, the spark of life. We talked about enzymes earlier. Every single metabolic process in your body requires enzymes. They are the workers that carry out the instructions. As we age, our endogenous production of enzymes declines. We become less efficient at breaking down food and building tissues. The specific amino acid profile of jackfruit, particularly when the seeds are consumed, provides the specific substrate for the body to produce its own proteolytic enzymes that break down protein. But more importantly, the manganese and B vitamins in the fruit act as cofactors that activate these enzymes. Think of the enzymes as light bulbs. The amino acids from your meal are the electricity, but you need a switch to turn the light on. Jackfruit provides the minerals that flip the switch. It doesn't just provide the raw materials, it provides the activation energy to use them. This is the difference between owning a library of books and actually reading them. Benefit number 1, the muscle-full bypass, the million-X amplifier. And now, we arrive at the summit. The number 1 benefit, the reason jackfruit protein can be considered 1,000 times more effective than a simple egg for the 75-plus demographic. It all comes down to a concept we touched on earlier, the muscle-full phenomenon. Research shows that muscles have a refractory period. When you consume a bolus of fast-digesting protein, like an egg or a whey shake, muscle protein synthesis, MPS, spikes. But it shuts off after about 2-3 hours. This happens even if amino acids are still floating around in your blood. The muscle goes temporarily deaf to the signal. This is the muscle-full set point. And what causes this set point to arrive earlier? Inactivity and, yes, aging. Aging muscles hit a wall faster. They fill up quicker and refuse to accept more building materials. So, how do you beat this? Research indicates the main factor that delays the muscle-full set point is physical activity. But there's a nutritional hack here too. The slow, sustained release of amino acids from the jackfruit matrix, combined with its potent vagal nerve stimulation, essentially tricks the muscle. It doesn't cause a massive spike that overwhelms the mTOR system and triggers the refractory period. Instead, it provides a lower, longer, more persistent signal. It keeps the mTOR foreman on the factory floor, working steadily for hours, rather than running back to his office after a short burst of frantic activity. This is the million-X factor. It's not about the quantity of leucine per gram, it's about the duration of signaling. Egg protein might shout for 2 hours and then go silent. Jackfruit protein whispers for 6 hours, and a whisper that lasts is infinitely more effective than a shout that fades when you need it most. It bypasses the premature muscle-full block, allowing the aging body to utilize the protein window to its fullest extent. It's the difference between a sprint and a marathon, and for building muscle at 75, you need the marathon. Practical application. So how do we harness this? How do we get this cascade of benefits into your daily life without moving to the tropics and living off the land? First, source your jackfruit. You can find it canned in water or brine. Avoid syrup at all costs. In most international grocery stores. Fresh is best if you can find it, but it's a lot of work. You can also find it frozen, which is excellent. But here is the most critical tip. Do not discard the seeds. A significant portion of the leucine and protein density is in the seeds. They are waxy and chestnut-like. For the flesh, rinse it well if canned. You can sauté it, add it to stews, or even use it as a base for a savory dish. Its texture is remarkably meaty. For the seeds, boil them for 20-30 minutes, like potatoes. Peel off the white, waxy skin and eat them. They have a mild, nutty flavor. You can also roast them for a crunchy snack. Frequency and dosage. You don't need to eat a pound of this a day. We are aiming for signal, not volume. Aim for half a cup of jackfruit flesh 2 to 3 times per week as a metabolic primer. Consume 5-10 roasted or boiled seeds as a snack or added to a meal on the days you eat the flesh. Strategic timing. Consume it before or with your primary protein source. If you're having chicken or fish at dinner, have the jackfruit as a starter or side. This allows the cephalic phase and the slow-release matrix to prepare your gut and bloodstream for the animal protein to follow. Critical safety warnings. Now, we must pause here. I am not a doctor, and this is not medical advice. This is a physiological exploration. You must consult with your healthcare provider before making significant dietary changes. Potassium levels. Jackfruit is very high in potassium. If you have chronic kidney disease, CKD, or any condition that requires you to limit potassium intake, hyperkalemia, this fruit could be dangerous. Your kidneys regulate potassium. If they are compromised, you risk cardiac arrhythmias. Blood sugar medication. While we discuss the blood sugar benefits, if you are on insulin or strong oral hypoglycemics, the addition of jackfruit could lower your blood sugar too much. You must monitor your levels closely. Latex allergy. There is a phenomenon known as latex fruit syndrome. If you have a latex allergy, you may also react to jackfruit as it contains similar allergenic proteins. Surgery. Due to its potential blood sugar lowering effects and its slight effect on blood pressure, stop eating jackfruit at least 2 weeks before a scheduled surgery to avoid interference with anesthesia and blood sugar control. Engagement closing. So here's my question for you in the comments. Have you ever eaten jackfruit? And if so, did you know the seeds were the real treasure? I'd love to hear your experiences, or if you're adventurous enough to try it this week. If this deeper look at the science of food and aging resonated with you, please click that subscribe button. We don't do hype here, we do mechanisms. We peel back the layers of the onion to understand why our bodies work the way they do. And finally, a reflective thought to leave you with. We often search for the strongest medicine, the most potent herb, the highest dose of protein. But as we've seen today, strength doesn't always come from force. Sometimes it comes from finesse. Sometimes it comes from a whisper that lasts all night, rather than a shout that fades at dusk. In a world that tells you to do more, eat more, push more, maybe the secret isn't more. Maybe it's smarter. Maybe it's listening to the quiet signals of a fruit that knows how to wait, how to persist, and how to gently remind a stubborn body that it still remembers how to grow. The body is listening. You just have to speak its language.